Hello, everyone. My name is Manvel Robinson. I am a board member of Diasporal Rhythms, and the co-chair of the education program, along with Daniel.Parker. That is the extension of Diaspora Rhythms that is putting on the ARTSmart event that we are here for today. Happy everyone was able to join. The title of the ARTSmart today is the Introspective Power of Art, the healing power of art. Today, I want to introduce our moderator. She has 4 decades as an art maker and a teaching artist, and a long history at the Hyde Park Arts Center, the Southside Community Arts Center, and DuSable Museum. She recently was an awardee of the 2023 Arts Southwest Airlines Community Award. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator, Dorian Sylvain.
Microphone, please. Microphone,
Oh,
please.
still trying to learn. Sorry, folks. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here today with some of my very good artist friends, very close, and we've all had a long history together. Um, just wanted to introduce a little bit about my background. I've had the pleasure of working for over 4 decades in Chicago, particularly focused on the South Side. I work as a public artist and have a long history involved with the Black theater. I am currently working as a teaching artist there comes some of the images. These are some of my past public arts projects. Over at Diet High School, there was a project you just saw that I collaborated with Arlene Crawford Turner and Raymond Thomas. And the image we're looking at right now is a mural at the Marianos in Bronzeville. Yeah, and actually you can just kind of flip through those, Tony, just kind of some of my history here. Mariano's, Southside Community Arts Center, Hyde Park Arts Center. Those have been some of my creative homes and where I have been able to foster some lifelong relationships and friendships and collaborators, which some of these artists here today have been some of my collaborators over the years. So I'm going to toss it off to the artists so they can do a short introduction of themselves and their work. It's my pleasure to introduce Malika Jackson.
Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. And thanks to Diasporal Rhythms for inviting me to speak about my spiritual journey as an artist and art teacher. First and foremost, my greatest artistic gift was my daughter, Courtney. Yet, as a surrogate mother, I was possibly a mother to thousands and maybe from the school system, where I taught at Dixon for over 30 years and on the south side of Chicago, and now as a satellite teacher for the Hyde Park Arts Center. You know, as an artist and a teacher, I love learning, and I'm always seeking new ways and new avenues to interpret my artistic spirit, to be through it paint, clay, wood, or found objects. But for all those years that I served as an art teacher at Dixon, I learned so much more from my students than they probably ever learned from me. And as an ancillary teacher, you witness the social and emotional growth of all the students. You serve and get to know them from kindergarten through 8th grade, and you get to see their spirits blossom. The students knew that the art studio was a safe haven, even though my expectations were high and my curriculum was rigorous. It was always with love and grace that I taught the students with. This gave them the confidence to freely express themselves artistically without judgment. To me, art is a great gateway for discussion and understanding. When you asked me to speak and reflect on how art impacted my students and me, it wasn't easy because in art you just do, and you are guided and use your professional expertise, but you know that you are the change that you want to become when you're working with students. And always know that you have to speak with kindness. The introspective power of my as an art teacher means you're a conduit as a higher power that works through you to provide guidance, understanding, and love to all your students. But lastly, you must listen with an open heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Malika. I've got to say, too, just from personal experience, Malika has touched a lot of lives. She really has been a fabulous inspiration to so many young artists in the city of Chicago. And now to one of my other good pals, I'd like to introduce Arthur Wright.
Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Arthur Wright. I am a artist, visual artist here and I've been here since back in Chicago since 1992 or so. I returned here after a time in advertising in New York, and it was really a great experience doing that, working at an African American owned agency, Carolyn Jones Advertising, for 10 years and getting the experience in advertising that I was able to bring over here once I returned to Chicago and became a visual artist by way of just wanting to be able to do more meaningful things and not always trying to do work for clients that were asking for things I didn't believe in as much. So now I get an opportunity to do that. Also, I'm an artist that is concentrated on music, mainly jazz, but I've worked in different areas of dance and also in literature. And so I'm really trying to connect all of those different areas to my art. I'm a proud partner of Candace Hunter, who's also an artist here in Chicago, and also our daughter Aisha, who is also a visual artist in her own right, going to college. She's planning on partaking in some form of art by way of animation and writing herself. I just want to say that I'm very thankful to be here to share my times and my experiences with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. I want to make a note, too, to the audience that I'm sure you guys are observing all the beautiful artwork behind our participants. And Arthur is truly one of the more prolific artists that I've ever known. So pleasure to have him on the panel. The next, I'm going to hand it off to another prolific artist who has been the founder of various artistic movements through the decades. Let me hand it off to Turtel Onli.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to everybody for giving of your time and your resources. It's meaningful to be able to have a moment to talk with peers and reach out to other people. I'm a Chicago native. I'm one of these people that started drawing when I was a little shorty. Stopped the whole world. My connection is a little unstable, and if it is because I'm at the Hyde Park Arts, okay, I'm assuming you can still hear me. I graduated from the School of the Arts.
Okay, I don't know if I should chime in here, but Turtel's signal is kind of unstable at HPAC, so let me give it a moment, see if Tony's able to work out a better connection. And if not, we will give it literally 1 minute. And if he doesn't get him back on, then we will just move forward.
And yes, Dorian, we may want to move forward. I won't have the ability from where I'm located to impact his signal. So maybe it will improve as we continue the presentation.
Okay, well, we'll move forward. We're very excited about engaging in conversation today. And I want to make note that people are welcome to ask a question in the chat. I'm going to try to keep my eyes on it. And if there's something that I could address to the artist, I'll work that into some of our, okay, he's back, Turtel's back. Actually, Turtel, let me hand it off to you because you honestly had just gotten started with your presentation. Can you pick back up on that, please?
Okay, I think I ended with, I worked with multiply handicapped children. I did that for 12 years as a clinical art therapist. I then moved over to the Chicago public school system, elementary through high school. And a lot of people know me for having started the Black Age of Comics, which is a genre of comic books and graphic novels based on celebrating material and creators and concepts that are derived from Black, African, and urban experience. Prior to that, I would have started an artist guild called BAG, Black Arts Guild. A number of the members are known to you, like Jim Smoot, former members. We disbanded a while back, but Jim Smoot, Obi Creed, S.B. Frazier, Dalton Brown were all critical members of that guild, and that was started, believe it or not, in 1970. Currently, I'm in a residency at the Hyde Park Art Center, which has helped me make the pivot from thinking of rhythmism as experimental to now being affirmed. So, I'll have a lot to learn from everyone in this conversation and hopefully have meaningful things to share with the people who signed in. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Chip. I'm glad we So let me make this one note also to our participants. Can people be sure to have their microphones turned off? And you're also welcome to turn off your video if you like and participate silently. This whole Zoom landscape is something we're all trying to figure out how to negotiate better and better. So yeah, let's get some conversation going here. Certainly, we are all trying to cope with the new landscape because of this COVID situation. For some artists, working in a certain level of isolation is normal, it's typical. But because of COVID, a lot of things have changed for many artists. And my first question is going to really address sort of what this new landscape means to you as an artist and how you're coping with it. I'm going to toss this to all three of you, but maybe I'll start off with Malika. Maybe you could address this first and then hand it off. So art can give us the opportunity to create a quiet space, to look within ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. In this moment of introspection, it allows some people to connect. Have you had this experience?
Okay. Yes, Dorian, before all this new things happened with us with the COVID and all, it was possible for me when I saw a student's need and that I couldn't address, I would often ask the social worker, could she come in and observe or kind of help me, give me some strategies in which to work with the kids. So now I'm working with the teachers directly, asking them to have the students prepare their artwork, poetry, or prose of how they're feeling about what's going on in their world. So as I said, this is so new and we're living in such a new virtual world. So I'm just trying to discover ways in which I can help the students more.
Turtel, are you dealing with students at all right now, or might this question be more applicable just to you personally? Whoop, oh. Did you hear that one, Turtel?
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
I'm having some stability issues over here at the Art Center. I think that what COVID has done for me has minimized distractions from the art process and has extended my time of being connected, not just to the creation of the art, but bearing witness to it and learning from it afterwards. Say if it was about percentages, for us art makers, we spend a lot of time looking at blank surfaces to make things emerge. I think now we get more time to look even deeper into that emptiness, into that void, and reflect back on where that comes from inside of us, and to go through options and changes and what we might do. For myself personally, it gave me all this time to prepare for the residency that I had pending. So I had this focus where I could really think it through at levels that, you know, when you're going out and you can hang out with friends and you got other things to do, I don't want to call it distractions, it's life. But a lot of times when we look at artwork from different time periods, we don't always think that 100 years ago they didn't have television. You go back 200 years, they didn't have plumbing. So it was more focused what artists did. And you look at the artwork and we forget the thousands of hours that were available because of what lifestyle was like. So for myself with COVID, it meant better quality time in my art making and more in-depth reflection, and the word we use in introspection, and looking at myself as an artist throughout my total arc of making artwork from when I was a child to where I am now. So I think it's been an asset in that regard. That's not me taking away from the horrible tragedy that's been for a lot of people. Fortunate I've had not had that affliction. So yes, COVID is out there, and the sheltering in place means sort of sheltering in studio for someone who's an art maker.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, and I think you're right. Distractions. You know, I think about all the commute time I've been saving because we're in shelter in place. And all the hours I used to run from one place to the other. Arthur, I know you had a daughter return from home because of COVID, right? Didn't Aisha have to come back for a little while? Did those?
It was just really it was a quick visit to, again, just keep our communication a lot clearer with her. But basically, COVID has just, I guess, put a focus on communication. When I communicate with her, when I communicate with clients, when I communicate doing commissioned work. So COVID has helped me in a way, in a positive way, that I listen more. I react to music more. I get a chance to involve myself with listening and going to events that are done virtually. So here I'm now in a room with a couple of band members at Fulton Street Art Collective, and I am 10 feet away, and there are no people there, no audience. And now I'm dealing with just the music, and I'm concentrating more so on what I'm doing. There never was a distraction before, but now it's really focused. So that's what COVID has done for me, is really helped me to focus on the importance of family, of friends, of listening and getting the details about commissioned work. What do you want? What do you need me to do? And so I think that's been really my greatest plus with COVID being around, is that I've been able to see what's important.
Thank you, Arthur. That is very insightful. I mean, I'm certainly happy to see that everybody is well and is not been victimized by COVID, at least personally. As a silver lining, I think we all have found a little more time to work, which is a great thing. Let's see. So, Turtel, I'm going to toss this one off to you first. Because of your background and your history as an art therapist, which is a very important study that I wish I would love to see employed more in our school systems. But as art therapy is an alternative method frequently used to engage people in processing their emotions and to reflect on their feelings and behavior. Can you give us examples and an explanation of the therapeutic process? And excuse me, Malika, I'd also like you to pick up on that as an arts educator. I think you might also have some comments on that question.
Well, from a formal standpoint, when you think of art therapy, it uses the artistic process to either diagnose or treat conditions. Sometimes we use the word pathology, sometimes we use the word disabilities, but to have that diagnostic framework to look at an individual group to come up with a treatment plan. For it to really be therapeutic at a higher level, you need to have a sense of what you're dealing with. You know, it's no different than if a physical therapist finds out you had a compound fracture, then they think of a treatment plan to help you regain the mobility while the healing of the bone is taking place. So with our therapy, emphasis being on the therapy part, but the art is the modality by which the healing and the diagnosis takes place. In my own practice, when I've engaged, and I did it in the public schools, in Chicago public schools, special needs students have what's called an IEP. It's an individual educational plan, and I would sit in and would really insist that the student would get treatment, because what happens with the Chicago public schools is that it's a lot of emphasis on educational support, not a lot of treatment. Therapy is a modality that fits really comfortably in the curriculum or in the location that is the public school, as would dance therapy, music therapy, and other expressive modalities that are used to have a therapeutic impact. So in the years that I was doing it in clinical environments, that would have been the emphasis. As an arts educator, I would put it in where students need it. So I'm looking at therapeutic thresholds, like at what point there's progress that can be seen and how to build upon that. There tends to be a healing byproduct in almost all creative practices, which is inherent. It's just when you start calling it therapy, you have a little more, say, awareness in terms of how it's reaching either the individual or the group that you're servicing. So I really look at the nuance between what's intended and sometimes what just happens anyway, but to be paying attention that it emerges. Does the person's attention span improve? Do they get better relationships established with their peers? Do they have a better sense of self-confidence? Sometimes you see it in areas that you don't expect it, like their hygiene or their punctuality or their attendance in class, or they're feeling complete and feeling more like a whole person in the community of the classroom or in the community of their family. So, you know, the more information you can have, the more you can look to see that activities or working in tandem, meaning working with their peers, and then comes the subject matter that you might provide them with. For instance, I would have students do a cartoon strip that would start with the beginning of their life, the middle of their life, and what they projected toward the future. And a lot of times it would be amazing how many of them immediately had themselves incarcerated, okay? Or had themselves in a cemetery and didn't see much else in relationship with that activity to put in there for their future. They weren't like stopping with a professional life, starting a family or things like that. Well, that would be a gateway for me in terms of an opening to think where to go with my activity, how to organize what we were doing in the classroom, and also in the individual activities. So looking at the drawings that they would yield, talking to them about the content would give me another level of awareness because, it's always what we think, we're on the outside, but also what are they saying that's coming from their internals, they're on the inside of themselves. So the artwork becomes this external manifestation that we could both meet each other expressively and receptively and get an understanding and then scaffold upon that. So that's what I have to say about that at this point. And thanks for asking.
Yeah, that comic strip exercise is quite revealing. I bet that it really gave the students a lot of opportunity to sort of dig inside and think about their future, which many of them don't. You don't bring up that question. Malika, are you able to chime in on that?
Just a little bit. So I was thinking, like Tortel was saying, as far as being a therapist, an art teacher is somewhat of a therapist because you get to see, an ancillary teacher gets to see students from kindergarten through 8th grade. So you get to see the children's maturation process. So many times when I couldn't articulate, kind of figure out what was going on emotionally with my students, I would often ask the social worker, like I was saying, to come in and look and help me to strategize or to give some input on what could be done with some of the students because you see the whole child, not just as an art teacher, but as just another human being who wants to facilitate and helping with the children. So through their art, many times just through their emotional stance on how they're behaving that day or not doing, not interacting, like Tortil was saying, you get to pick up on those cues. And it's important to really listen and hear what the children are saying. And I got it was beneficial for me to be able to be there because I wasn't just there with them for 1 year. I was there with them for 8 years. So it was good to see that. And they got to trust you. And when children trust you, a lot of they open up. And that's the only way, one of the only few ways that you can probably try and help a child, as an art teacher. So that's all I had to say about that one.
That's true. And Arthur, I wanted to toss it to you because I know you've had quite a bit of experience too.
I think from my perspective, art therapy became very important to me because, and I'm going to try not to choke up and get all teary-eyed, but basically I met an art therapist by the name of Mark Livingston, and he came along in my life during a time when I was very depressed, and he helped me focus on where drugs and so forth that I was prescribed weren't working. He came to me with the visual aspect, and that visual aspect was creating my feelings on paper by by color, by line, by shapes, and through those just those examples of him describing, well, get it out, show me what you're working with. If you're feeling sad or today, why? What is making you feel sad? What would make you feel happy? And he was able to describe to me clearly a direction that worked for me being an artist, but also reminding me that by way of art, it could heal me. It could give me a better outlook by seeing things that were making me sad and made me identify more clearly with those things. So the healing aspect worked for me much more than any drugs, much more than anything, talking to someone. He was able to, again, focus me on where those feelings were. And so for me, I don't know, Tony, if you have the two images for this question, number 3, but he was able to, again, help me emphasize my feelings through art. And that really clarified where I was in life, where I needed to be, where I wanted to be. So that was, and one day I would really want to look into, after Aisha is finished with college, more of art therapy, more of the aspects of it. So this is a series that you're seeing of pieces that I did based on art therapy, in dance, in music, in relationship to spiritual, to religion. So these are just samples of what, again, this piece here and all these pieces are basically just outtakes of what helped me figure out things. So that was a great important time for me.
Thank you for that, Arthur. Yeah, it personally means a lot in terms of our being able to move forward as individuals, let alone how it affects even our teaching practice. All of us are practicing artists, but we all spend quite a bit of time engaging with young people and young artists and employ a lot of these same theories and philosophies. On that note, I'm kind of going to move into this next question, which is the effective use of color and design in art can be used to elicit certain moods. As an artist, can you give an example of your deliberate choices of certain colors or design that are meant to elicit moods? Let's see, Malika, should I toss that to you first?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Well, everybody who knows me know I love color. So I use that a lot with my students at school also. And I use the elements and principles of design and develop technical uses of color and theory with the kids and gave them samples of, how to use the colors to evoke feelings and emotions. But after that, I just guided them to give them those tools. But the students use it as they wished. And I have a few images of some of my students' work that Tony can share now. And I just let them be free to explore and to just not guide them so much, but to give them the opportunity to use color just because I loved it. And I wanted to let them know, colors do evoke and elicit various types of emotions. And I just let them be free with those various modalities, and they learn from that. So that's really was important to me. Thank you, Dorian.
What I'd like to add about color, it's always around us, right, on different levels. Like in the merchandising industry, there's a lot of logic and research that says when you combine red, yellow, red and orange, yellow and orange, some kind of way it induces a sensation in a lot of people that's a lot like being hungry. That's why we see those colors in fast food logos and in certain packaging of edible items and candy items and treats. Whereas light blue, a light pink, pastels tend to calm the environment down in a way that we see that used industrially. In my own work, there's a lot of things to take place with color. Again, I function with a concept that I call being rhythmistic. And I refer to rhythmism as a genre that is future primitive and deals with, a lot of times, dealing with images and concepts that cascade through us by way of our DNA. It's kind of like streaming from your genetic memory. And so I've applied it in fine art, in commercial art. When I say commercial, I mean album covers, advertisement, publications, editorial illustration. I've done a lot of experimental work with it. In my own practice, I tend to do bodies of fine art. Like there's a body of work where I recontextualize the concept of hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. But getting back to color, it's critical. And don't lowball black and white. The high contrast of black and white, whether we see it when we see it in print for words or in other usage, like when we look at stop signs and the warning signs, when we're driving, we always see black and yellow as a warning because it's like the high contrast of that. You're so aware of it. So it arrives as the railroad crossing or the stripes on a bumblebee that lets you know, okay, that's dangerous. You kind of stay away from that. Or the stripes on a tiger. So color is always communicating things to us. Sometimes we take it for granted because we live with it. And then with us art makers, we get deeply saturated in what color can do. I can't speak for my peers. I'll talk for me. A lot of times people who see me in my studio are like, are you sitting there watching paint dry? And I'm like, exactly. I don't want to miss this. You know, I want to see what it's doing because, you know, when it's no longer wet, it's not the same. And so, you know, I want to get there with it. So, you know, it communicates, it expresses, it moves us. You know, it's that dopamine hit that you get with color, or you get provoked on the serotonin level. And then, of course, how it communicates and we interpret. For instance, I teach art appreciation at Harold Washington College, and I'll talk to students about how point of view can matter. In other words, does red mean danger because of blood, or does red mean love because of a Valentine? You know, so we get these kinds of things. So that's my commentary for now. We will continue with this. Thanks for letting me say that much.
Whenever I think of your work, Dale, and then I'm going to hand it off to Arthur. But whenever I think of your work, for some reason, the colors black and purple always come up in my mind. And you have always incorporated so many nice black feels, and your use of black line is just so strong in your work. Yeah, your colors are great. Arthur, how would you respond to that?
Tony, I have an image for the color section. I think it's number 4. But basically, when I'm doing a commissioned work, it's a lot of times I ask the client, you know, so I don't refer to my clients ever as patients because they're not. They're people who are interested in something that they would like to see painted or created for their home, for their office. So I'll ask them right off, what is your favorite colors? What are the colors that turn you on? Some people may like more muted colors in their environment, more quiet colors in their environment. Then others are really interested in bright colors and colors that'll give them a certain feeling when they come home from a hard day's work, or you know, being in home under, you know, COVID rules. They want to have something in their environment that'll make them feel good, make them feel bright, like, you know, more alive. And so color for me has always been something, I'm listening and agreeing with whatever colors turn you on, and that's what I try to incorporate in a piece.
So continuing maybe this line of thinking, I wanted to ask the three of you, aside from commission work in which we're trying to, you know, meet the standards of our client, for your own personal work, which emotions do you think you typically try to invoke in the viewer? You know, we've talked a little bit about sadness and joy and anger and various things. I don't know. Could you guys describe a little bit about your personal work and what you try to elicit through color and design?
Well, for me,
Okay, cool. Go for it, Arthur.
Oh, I was just going to say that I grew up back when I got back to Chicago. The gallerist and owner of Nicole Smith, she she enlightened me in terms of I guess the positiveness of art, how art could again elevate, how art could, through color, through shapes, could make a person feel good, be more spiritual enlightenment. So through lines, through again design. So I just remember her teachings in regards to that, always wanting to have the more positive uptake, the more positive view of presenting art, so that again it just uplifted our spirits, as opposed to reminding us of something that we didn't want to be reminded of. So that's my take.
What I would say just briefly is, in my work, or shall I say, most of my work that people get to see, I'm using color to elicit thoughts and to provoke this cognitive thing, to get people to the higher order thinking applications, questions, self-examination, or if possible, a dialogue between them and the artwork, whether the artwork's manifested in graphic novels that I write, I conceive, or like the pieces in the background that are done from my own personal vision, along with my experimentation or the manifestation of what I'm calling rhythmism, to make it available as a genre. Now, work when I'm really functioning with an emotional component, to me, a lot of times, my passion is personal. So a lot of that I don't showcase in a public forum. So the few people who've come by my studio that might get to see it, or like, they'll see the other side, because that's where the emotional component is much more, how can I say, more the factor. So sometimes that for me is my internal dialogue with me and my work, which is different than what I think is for public consumption. You know, it's kind of like the things you say in public are different than the things you say when you're in a room talking to yourself. So I have that big separation, and trust me, I hold on to those pieces and go back to them and continue to learn from them. And then things from that work will find itself in the public.
And Malika, the same question, but one of my thoughts regarding you is that I know that you not only are, do painting, but as a sculptor, as a person that interfaces with clay and different mediums, do you find that you use the same tools, the same intention in both mediums to try to elicit emotion in viewers?
More or less in my paintings, I use a lot of color to evoke those kind of emotions. In my sculptures, I find that the sculpture itself, being a three-dimensional form, is helpful when the audience sees it in that three-dimensional light. So I don't really need as much color, but I emphasize with the texture and the way I formulate various types of things. The piece that Tony is showing now has more or less to do with one of the other questions that you're going to ask us, but I'll speak to this now, that this was a series that I did on incest. Many times what happens in my life is very personal. So I'm really a very quiet person, but this piece helped me a lot get through a very painful time in my life when it was an ancestral thing that happened to me. But it wasn't it was something that I was able to help other people when I shared this work. So it was more or less a freeing type of thing, and it was called The Other Side of Pain, because to me the other side of pain is joy. So in order to work with this clay helped relieve a lot of the things that I was going through, that therefore helped other people.
That's such a powerful piece, Malika. And like you said, very personal. You could feel how personal it is. And probably, the void of color actually makes it stronger in a lot of ways. So sometimes we think of color as being the driver, but oftentimes it's the lack of that creates even more of an impact. So we've got a few questions from audience. I'd like to kind of jump in a little bit. One of the questions I see here on the side, and if maybe one of our panelists later could go on the chat and answer it, but I'm going to read it out publicly. If someone wanted to take themselves through a therapeutic art practice on their own, where would the panelists suggest someone start? I don't know if any of the panelists have something specific that maybe they can put on the chat later, or if somebody wanted to jump in and address that. And then I have a few more questions too that have come in from the panelists. I don't know, anybody? Okay, well, another question that came in is, how do artists suggest that one approach an art piece to heal when dealing with the pronounced anxiety we are feeling during COVID? That's a great question. As we're all trying to cope, maybe our panelists have some suggestions of for individuals.
Dorian, we're thinking about how to do the art themselves, or looking at art. What?
Sorry, yes, I believe that's what the person's looking for, the participant's looking for, the idea of suggestions of how they can cope themselves, maybe some art exercises or some suggestions from, about activities even.
Well, one suggestion would be find your favorite music. I mean, understand that, of course, visual art is, again, making marks and so forth, but it is also listening to music. It's also dancing. It's also writing. So as a healing thing, you could try the thing that you most appreciate. You could find your favorite song. That's my song, and that song could give you memories of good things, take you way back when, and or then again maybe it makes you dance, and that's a joyful thing, to just get yourself in motion. The healing kind of just out of that sheer exercise is very healing. And then you can experiment. I think when it comes to this situation that we're in, it's all about experimenting, finding out what really, maybe this doesn't work, but this could. So a suggestion might be, while you're dancing, you stick a brush and paint in your hand and you just let it go. You might have to be outside and, as it's getting cold, but you have your paper and your paint, and you just kind of, whatever comes up is what you get. And so you're experimenting. You make brushes out of branches, and you make sculptures out of stones, and you just kind of just figure out, I'm just gonna, again, one suggestion my daughter gave me a long time ago is just pretend. Pretend that you can do this, and pretend that everything's going to be all right, and it will. Eventually, you'll figure out what works for you. If it's music, if it's writing, writing how you're feeling with a marker or crayons or pens or paper or paint. Just writing out how you feel can end up being an art piece. It can be something that you can frame, and it'll remind you of just how you wanted to feel. So experiment with that. Just the different areas from music. Use that to start your art or your images. Use dance. Just put some finger painting while you're dancing is kind of like wow, and you can come up with some really interesting things, and don't critique yourself if it doesn't look like whatever it is you think other people might think it should look like. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you're getting these feelings out, that you're getting these emotions to come up, and then you're getting a chance to see.
I was going to chime in too, Arthur, and say, don't complicate things. Don't make it feel like it's a monumental feat. Keep it simple. If you've got glue, you've got scissors, you got tissue paper, you got, you know, Christmas wrapping paper. You know, if you're doing nothing but cutting circles and gluing circles on another piece of paper until you feel satisfied, it's about the doing, I think, you know. So yeah, don't complicate it. I don't know, Malika, you got like, as our
Yeah.
teacher, you got like a little something you can add, and then we got
Yeah, I agree totally, Dorian, and with you too, Arthur. Keep it so simple. Use some things that you have around your house. If you have some dried beans and a tissue roll, cut it up in 3 sections and make you some napkin rings or something. You know, the end result is not as important as the doing. So just to be doing something that makes you feel good is the most important part of the process. You know, it's really in the journey, because during these times we have to use whatever you have around your house, maybe, you know, even if it's just going for a walk. I took Tony's photography class. It opened up so many doors for me because I just kept it simple. So those kinds of things, take photographs with your camera and just do some collages or something like that. But whatever makes you happy at that moment, stay present in the moment, and don't think about what else you can do in the future. Just try and stay present there.
That's true. Thank you. Thank you guys for that. We did have a few more questions coming in, but with consideration of time, I did want to give our panelists an opportunity to ask one of our final question, which was, what is the most significant thing that you have learned about yourself through creating art? And I think you guys have touched on that already, but maybe if we could kind of underline that point as we wrap up our conversation this afternoon.
Okay, I'll go first. But and it's very simple for me. You know, I used to try and do things that make me more gregarious or fit in, but I found out over the years I'm enough. I'm a quiet person. I love doing my art, you know, and it's important that people see art through what I do, and the art speaks through me. And it's a more spiritual journey. And I'm happy with that. And to know, like I said, I'm enough and I don't have to be anything else.
Arthur, you got a comment there? And I'm afraid we've lost Turtel. So Arthur, could you
I guess the most significant thing is that art has taught me that it can not only heal, but it can also help you to realize who and what you are. It can actually again, you can do anything based on, again, what you love in terms of music and writing and dancing and poetry, and those, just combining those aspects to your daily life, or taking a break from the 9 to 5 aspects with this. You can call it a hobby. But again, the significant thing for me is just that it has helped me realize that there are alternatives to feeling the way, you know. If again, you can after a while you can learn, teach yourself how to bring yourself up, how to take you to places you want to go, and art does that. It can give you that map. It can give you that structure. It can give you that discipline. And again, you don't have to criticize it. You don't have to critique it. Just do it.
So we've definitely touched upon some really serious topics in our conversation this afternoon, and I know we're running out of time, but I really wanted to squeeze in one more question that came from one of our audience members today, and that is, knowing that trauma can be passed down generationally and that art has healing powers, what would be your message to young people about the importance of connecting to art in all of its forms for generational repair of this trauma? And if you guys can give maybe concise answers, that would be great. And let's see, Malika, do you think you want to address that? And then Arthur, if you can also piggyback on that.
Okay, coming from where I as a young adult and a child, it was very traumatic for me. There were a lot of things that happened out of my control. And over the years, I realized that it wasn't my fault. So in being an art teacher, you don't have to perpetuate what happened to you. You take that energy and what happened at that time, and you help heal other people. And I think many times that's why God placed me where I was and during the time I was at Dixon and teaching and working around young people. Because in order to go to no pain, you had to have felt some type of pain. So that helped to heal me, to help me to heal students.
I feel that for young people, because we're going through things, socially, again, other things. So again, it's whatever a young person is feeling, to express it, to get it out, to again, if it's about the violence that's going on in the world, then express that. Um, if that, that will lead you to some other place. That'll lead you to understanding it, for one thing, um, because we have such a ability to share information. You have Instagram, Facebook, just the World Wide Web. You can actually see what other people on blogs and on other areas are thinking about, and you can agree to disagree about those examples that you see, or what I would want, what I would feel that my suggestion to the youth is, um, if there is a negative that you're feeling, if there is a something that you would like to see done better, express that. If use that imagination to come up with some answers, some suggestions for making things better.
Thank you so much. I love that answer. And I tell you, if there's a takeaway from this conversation, even just from that last little bit of conversation, for me, it is that we need to put some art materials and some musical instruments, and we need to get this stuff into the hands of some young people, some more young people, So with that, I just want to give a really big thank you to my artist friends, Malika Jackson, to Arthur Wright, and to Turtel Onli, who unfortunately he got dropped off, but he's doing some amazing work at the Arts Center, at the Hyde Park Arts Center. And want to, of course, give a big shout out and thank you to Diasporal Rhythms for putting this together and for hosting this today. And with that, I would like to introduce Patrick McCoy.
Patrick, turn on your microphone, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dorian. This was wonderful. Thank the attendees and also the panelists, Malika, Turtel, and Arthur. I really appreciate that. But also the Dan.Parker and Manvel Robinson, who are the co-chairs of the educational program of Diasporal Rhythms that puts it together. All of you today have helped us push our mission forward. Our mission is to collect, promote, and preserve art from the African diaspora by encouraging individuals like yourself and also institutions to appreciate and acquire this art. In addition, we'd like to thank the moderator today, Dorian Sylvain, who is a very special person for Diasporal Rhythm. She has, in the spirit of this wonderful, thought-provoking, and informative conversation, she has helped us do that with young people. We have a youth program that's centered on the King College Prep School, and we've been for 8 years now bringing professional artists to supplement the art program there, and Dorian has so graciously provided workshops, I think twice, for the students in that program, and I've sat in on them, and they have been wonderful. So she has been walking the walk and talk at that, and just beyond just talking the talk. But I wanted to have all of us congratulate Dorian for being a 2020 recipient of the Three Arts Award, a very, very prestigious recognition associated with also a $30,000 unrestricted grant award. So we are really thankful that a person that has come out of our art ecosystem is being recognized at the larger level of this Chicagoland area as being an important person to watch. Thank you very much, Dorian. We really appreciate you, and thank you for the panelists and for the attendees of this program. Manvel?
Sure. To piggyback on Patrick's form of gratitude, we definitely appreciate the panelists. The conversation was great. It was definitely needed. It was timely. I will leave a quote or not a quote, but a hashtag. Let's make sure art stays in our schools or gets back in our schools to the way it should be, because definitely the youth need it. And from that perspective, I also would like to tell everyone once again, thank you for coming. I posted some information pretty much about the artists, the panelists, and the moderator who are artists. I posted some information about their Instagram pages, and I will also be sending out a thank you letter. And in a thank you letter, we pretty much will be asking individuals to feel free to donate to Diasporal Rhythms, which is a non-for-profit organization, 501c3 status, and a survey just so we can understand what we need to do to basically continue to have an effective means of communicating things taking place in the art industry to our listeners and audience. And last but not least, our next ARTSmart is going to be surrounding the topic of what have artists been creating during these weird times, or this weird time, however you want to look at it, plural or singular. There's a lot of things going on right now, but also what have people been buying? Because people have still been buying art, and which is a good thing. And it shows that there's an investment there that needs to pretty much be talked about and shared. So be looking out for that. I think that will take place in February. And once again, the education program, team members, everyone involved, Tony Smith as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Cynthia Smith. Thank you as well. And everyone enjoy their Saturday. Thanks for joining us.